And this is time for our first keynote speech today. Are you all excited for that? Okay, let's welcome Snehal Talati for our next keynote speech, that is AI and Agile Better Together. Welcome, Snehal. I asked him once, sir, what if I don't know any answer in interview? So he just said, you are from computer engineering background. Just take a tip, and it helped me a lot in my lifetime. So he said, whenever something is happening and you don't know what is that, just say it was by default. And second suggestion that he gave me is that if anything goes wrong and someone asks you what happened, then just say it was a technical issue. So that's what happened, but we are trying to correct it. Just give us 1 second, we'll be back. Ready?
Welcome to AI Agile Better Together.
We've seen how Agile has not just endured but thrived, embracing the winds of change brought by AI. Together, they're more than the sum of their parts, a symphony of human ingenuity and machine precision. It is to use tools like this and use AI as a companion to help us be more efficient. I'm here to say, embrace it, right? Not fear it, because it's here to help us as a companion. By harnessing the strengths of our skill sets, and if we can adopt and embrace AI and learn a little bit more, organizations can achieve an innovation that's never seen before, and we can also learn things that we've never learned before. It's not just about adapting, it's about pioneering the next era of development.
Introducing the AI Agile Guy. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Snehal Talati.
Let's hear for Snehal.
Hello, everyone. You guys can hear me? I don't need a mic. Let me hear some energy. Fantastic. All right, can I get the slides, please? Awesome. Welcome to AI and Agile Better Together. Hyderabad, make some noise. Woo! I'm actually running very low on energy, so I'm looking to you to give me the energy today. All right, fantastic. So before I start, I brought in Snehal AI because my Telugu is not good. So listen to Snehal AI as he speaks.
హైదరాబాద్లో రీజనల్ స్క్రమ్ గ్యాదరింగ్కి స్వాగతం. మీరు నిజమైన మానవ రూపంలోని స్నేహల్తో అద్భుతంగా సంతోషంగా గడుపుతున్నారని ఆశిస్తున్నాము.
Awesome. How do you do? Fantastic. So obviously this is an AI conference, so you're going to see a lot of AI happening in this session today. So a little bit about myself. I am the CTO and Chief AI Officer of Boostaro. I'm also the founder of Nesmo, which we're working on beta, and if you guys are interested, come to me and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It's the first AI Agile coaching platform we're building on agentics. Raise of hands if you know what agentics is, because today's discussion is going to be on AI agents, the next era of artificial intelligence. So, I have a story to tell. Yesterday we had Ashish Vidyarthi speak to us, and I actually met him about 4 years ago on Clubhouse. And it's really heartwarming for me to be here. I am so honored to be here today and actually share this event with someone like him. I actually, in 2022, on my vision board, let's go, product vision, right? So the vision board, I actually had his picture on, and I said, one global event, I will meet Ashish sir and do a collaborative event, right? This was in 2022, and that dream came true yesterday. So I just want to say thank you to all the organizers of this conference. It's been a tremendous journey to be here, and that happened yesterday. So anyone know who this is? Ari. So who doesn't know Ari in India these days? Fantastic. So I have a joke. So people, some of my friends called me the Ori of AI. But my journey in AI has been kind of full circle. I started in bioinformatics, data science, machine learning. I then went into, I went into the Agile space. Why did I do that? Why did I go from, being in bioinformatics and then going into, the Agile space? But what really drove me to Agile was I love working with people. People are at the center of everything we do. As much as people say AI will take your job, humanity has to thrive, right? And it's important for us to keep pushing challenging ourselves to kind of take that next step. And that's what challenged me to kind of come out of bioinformatics, go into the Agile space, and then actually make it full circle and be completely back in AI. And that's why we are going to hear today, AI and Agile better together. So in this journey, I've met many AI folks that are kind of at the top of the industry. But what I've learned is a lot of these folks are so intuitive to technology that they can only really come to understanding that humans are important and everyone has good intention, right? What we hear in the media sometimes is not really, it doesn't really hit, it doesn't really relate. And we really need to take a step back and say, where is it that we're going? Why are we doing this, right? So it's really important to focus in. I have to say, every one of these pictures has a story. Unfortunately, if I had to tell every one of them, it'll take the whole day. But there's one particular story that kind of changed my perspective on AI. And you guys probably know him. This is my picture that I have framed. Jensen. Who's not a fan of Jensen? Raise of hands. All right, NVIDIA, awesome. So Jensen's from NVIDIA, and I actually got a chance to speak with him. And Jensen's really, it's like hearing him talk at GTC last year really showed me what is to come, right? And last couple of weeks ago, I was in San Francisco, and we haven't seen anything yet. All of the things that are being discussed and talked about, everyone is at a different spot in their journey, right? All of these folks that you see are way ahead, right? I'm still learning. And I encourage you guys also to keep learning about AI. The moment you stop is the moment you'll realize that, I wish I actually jumped the train to make sure I upskill in AI. So, long story short, I think what Jensen said, AI is not here to replace us, right? We really have to keep the AI literacy up to really learn and understand where AI is headed towards and where the trajectory is. So with that, the world is changing, right? We had the printing press. Actually, the printing press was the first time where we actually learned about literacy, right? Because we started to communicate with people using words. And at that moment, right, we really understood that what it means to have this communication, tool. It really revolutionized a lot of the things. And we're seeing some of that same principles apply today. Right? And then after the printing press era, we had the computer era, where humans and machines work together, right? In the same office, same room. And today, most of us are working from home, right, due to COVID and whatnot. But that kind of also revolutionized how we work and how we do work with one another, right? Just before COVID, everyone was in the office, right? Everyone was working together. The connections were there. But as soon as COVID happened, what happened? Right? We had to adjust all of a sudden. So thinking about that, and if you look at it, it's the same principles again. We are now in the AI era, where it's not about CPUs anymore, it's all about GPUs and how much compute we can have. But what does that mean? So I'm going to break it down. But before I like to ask this question everywhere I go in the world, what AI tool have you used? So if you can take your phones out and hopefully this works. Oops. Let's see. Always let me see if I can fix this. If it doesn't work, we can skip, no worries. Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Bear with me. Okay. All right, back in action. So if you can just take a few seconds, hopefully it loads. What AI tool have you used the most? Copilot. ChatGPT. So let's see. I love to collect this information because as I go throughout the world, I can always make this prediction almost 70% of the time. But there have been times I've been completely wrong. So, so come on, I see 8 people, 11, fantastic. Give it a few more seconds. All right. So if I had to predict, it would have been ChatGPT, right? November 2022 was a defining moment because AI became accessible to everyone, right? It was a defining moment for OpenAI. And obviously, there are many, many more tools than just ChatGPT. And I'm actually going to, one thing you will take away from this session is we're going to do a live demo on an actual AI Agile use case that I can show you with other tools so you can take away and start using it at the end of this session. Because that's important, right? The theory is there, but and the learning is there, but at the same time, practical use cases we need to find. AI can generate, let me tell you, AI can actually generate as many solutions as you want. The solutions are endless. But as Agilists, it's the problems that we need to identify. How can we use AI to solve that problem? So again, ChatGPT being the #1 used platform, and I mean, the growth is remarkable. And we're going to talk about OpenAI and what that means as well. So, what is machine learning? What is unsupervised learning? What is neural networks? What's deep learning? What is generative AI? What is artificial general intelligence? What is artificial superintelligence? Let me tell you, the definitions are endless, just like the definitions in the Agile space. But it's up to us for us to kind of engage and learn so we can understand what it is. So let me break it down. Who here has seen the Agile Onion? All right? Who here is a master at the Agile Onion? Come on, don't be shy. Fantastic, I see a few hands up. All right, now let's talk about the AI Onion. Similarly, just like we have Agile Onion, we have AI Onion, and that AI Onion is so important because at the cusp of it, just like we have the Agile mindset, we have artificial intelligence, right, as the general umbrella. But within artificial intelligence, we have machine learning, right? Just like our Agile values, right? And it's important that you actually fulfill these things. You can't do, the thing is, trying to do AI without understanding the foundations, there's no point. But if you actually do it, you will understand the value, the time and investment you put in today. Just like you put in your Agile journey, it is very critical to put that same effort and same energy into your AI journey, right? So we have machine learning, we have deep learning, right? And in deep learning, this is where all the neural networks came into play, right? We talked about deep neural networks, the entire architecture that the LLMs are based on, right? And then we have generative AI, right? Generative AI is a subset of deep learning. But it is really important to understand this breakdown. And I invite you to spend some time in each of these layers. Not just one. Don't just stick in the generative AI area. That's where most of you probably will be. But really push yourself. Even if you're not technical, let me tell you, today, we're at a moment where you can learn from so many resources, which we didn't have in the past. But everything is available at your fingertips, right? So I encourage you to do that as you embark on your AI journey. So we started with traditional ML, right? So going back to the steps that got us to where we are. We started with traditional ML. We went into deep learning. So this is all neural networks and talking about convoluted neural networks and adversarial neural networks and how all of that works. If I had to lecture on that, that will also take forever. So I'm not going to bore you to death. But after deep learning, we had generative AI. And generative AI is not something that actually happened when ChatGPT released. Generative AI was there. It was just in a different form, right? So we started seeing generative AI being used in November 2022 because you guys had the accessibility to use a model that was trained in that way. After generative AI, we had AI copilots era, right? So obviously, if you work in the development space, you had GitHub Copilot, you had Microsoft Copilot. Everyone was putting a Copilot out, right? And then after that, we had what we call RAG, not like the rag that you wash the floor with, but RAG as in retrieval augmented generation. It's a fancy way of saying I'm going to use my external data sources to really input into all of these models and then be able to predict in a more concise way. Right? So that's all what RAG means. But then after that, people started saying, okay, after RAG, what comes next? AI agents. And let me tell you, 2025, this is all you're going to hear. We went from co-pilots to AI agents so fast that every company is pushing AI agents. And you're hearing it every day. Every day there's a company saying, oh, we're using agentic frameworks. Oh, we're using AI agents to put into play. You name any company, Atlassian, LinkedIn, Microsoft, everyone, right? So it's really important to understand that the agentic era is here. And after the AI agents, this is also forming in the last couple of months, is agentic RAG. So how do I input my company's context, my data, with an agent to do some autonomous work? So a lot of things, we're accelerating super fast, and it's coming at the blink of an eye. And so the question I get is, how can I stay, there's so much, where do I even start? Well, my question to that, my answer has always been, just start, right? This is the moment. I mean, this is the time that we're in that you have the opportunity to just go ahead and start. Doesn't matter where you start, just start. And then pick up on your way. But the future is about autonomy. And I'm convinced because I've been traveling the world talking to many AI leaders in this space. And I can say that we are at this almost a revolution that, we're going to feel it in multiple different ways. We might be already feeling it if we haven't, right? But it's a complete revolution on how we work and what we do and what skill sets we will need to thrive in this era. It will all look completely different, and I'm going to explain why. How many of you guys have read the book from Daniel Kahneman, Systems 1 and Systems 2 Thinking? Few. I encourage you to read this book. Unfortunately, the author has passed away. I'm a big fan of Daniel Kahneman. But Systems 1 and Systems 2 Thinking. Systems 1 is fast and intuitive thinking. So let me explain Systems 1 in very basics. Let's say you're driving a car. When you're driving a car, and you're going 60 miles per hour, and suddenly a car comes in the way, your immediate reaction is to hit the brakes. But did you think about hitting the brakes? No. It was a fast, intuitive response. You hit the brakes, right? Systems 2 thinking is when we're actually planning for maybe budgetary reasons, right? We're doing financial planning for ourselves. It's not like you're going to take a fast decision and say, okay, just like you hit the brakes, let me go ahead and just dump, $500,000 into Bitcoin. No, right? You're going to actually think through before you do that. So similarly, what we've seen so far is these models have been built on Systems 1 thinking, right? You interact with ChatGPT, you ask a question, and it immediately starts responding back without even a blink of an eye. So there are scaling laws when it comes to AI. And when we talk about scaling laws, we have the training compute piece where companies are putting tons and tons of money into using data and tons of data and compute in building these large models, right? And at the same time, we have this inference compute, right? That's what we're seeing. All of the GPTs that you've been using or all the foundational models, we've been using Systems 1 thinking. And that's the inference compute. But just a couple of months ago, how many of you guys have heard of OpenAI's O1 model? Few, right? So there's a new model in the OpenAI space. Most of you, if you use ChatGPT, it's probably GPT-4. But there's a new model called O1. And it hasn't been released yet, fully. It's just a preview. But I actually got a chance to talk to Noam Brown, who's the researcher behind O1. And what he said is, we've just introduced Systems 2 thinking to O1. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is just the beginning of this trajectory. We're still in the early stages, and now companies are actually pivoting because you have probably heard in the news that maybe we have almost hit the point on training compute that we'll hit the wall because we don't have enough data to train these models, right? So now companies are pivoting to actually put their resources and money into inference compute, right? So how can we scale the systems to thinking? And maybe, just maybe, that will take us to artificial general intelligence, which everyone is worried about, but I will tell you, there's nothing to worry about, right? There are hype cycles in this space, I agree, but as an agilist, it always will be about the human, right? But it's important to learn these things and be ahead of it, right? We actually are we're so equipped to do this in our organization today, to be able to help our customers, our employees, to understanding this and educating them, like that's our bread and butter, right? And so for me, I think you guys, everyone in this room, is actually at a very good spot if you just change the mindset. So let's look at some autonomous work and how systems 2 thinking is actually doing good in the world. So what you see here is the surgical transformer. This is research from Johns Hopkins University. This is actually fully autonomous, scaled at 12x speed, but they were able to train a robotics arm by showing mimicry of a real surgeon. And actually, this robot ended up performing with better precision than an actual surgeon. So you can see that with so much precision and so much training, it's not just about language training, it's also about training the physical world, which we haven't even seen yet. So that was from Johns Hopkins in the medical field. But now, how many of you guys know Elon Musk? Raise some hands. All right. So Elon Musk is, obviously, you may have heard about Optimus, Tesla's humanoid robot. And let me tell you, the humanoid robot space is actually pretty interesting. In the last, I would say, about 6 to 7 months, there has been a full-blown in the AI. Silicon Valley is completely invested in building physical bots, humanoid bots, right? And the reason is there's competition, obviously, global competition in this space. But it's important that a lot of folks in the AI space and tech visionaries have this vision. What if we could actually reduce the carbon emissions and reduce a lot of these things by doing this in a digital environment? Anything, just take the digital twin concept, right? So building things in the digital world, testing things in the digital world, and then deploying it in the actual physical world, right? And that's the concept that a lot of folks are taking into this futuristic vision of how to bring these humanoid bots to actually serve humanity in a purpose in way it can help us. Right, so here's Tesla's Optimus, the latest video. And this is, again, completely autonomous. There's no human interaction involved. So you get the point, right? So the question after I show these 2 videos, or I've shown many, but they will see, the first question I guess, will AI take my job? And I will tell you, it won't. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that, but it won't take your jobs, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about you, right? We heard it from Ashish yesterday. It's all about you taking that first step. Right? To really encouraging yourself and saying that, yes, if you say AI will take my job, and if you have that fear, then maybe it will take your job, right? But if you actually come in with a different mindset, then maybe, just maybe, if you can see, you will be able to see a lot of different things happening in this space. But if you actually put the filter right in front of you before even trying, guess what happens? You don't see what's happening in the world. And it took me quite some time to get to that point. But I can tell you today that there's so much happening in the AI space that we're going to need to have this upskilling come at a rapid pace, right? I'm on a mission to teach AI to literally the whole world, to democratize AI, because I believe every single person in this room needs to learn AI, and AI has to be the number one priority moving into this next era. So with that, I would say, don't worry about the jobs, the roles, right? The roles can change, but what can't change is the skills that you pick up, right? And there's so many different skills that you can actually pick up, even not being technical. So the other question I get is, I'm not a technical person, so how do I do that, right? But you can definitely pick up usage in these tools. Like I said, AI provides a large breadth of solutions. You just need to focus on one area, build that expertise, and then be able to present it to your customers, to your future employers, to maybe if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have the ability, that everything is in your hands today. So coming to our topic of AI and Agile better together, right? I think it fits really well, especially for a Scrum Master, for example. You can have AI-powered sprint planning, right? And what do I mean by that? I don't mean AI actually doing the sprint planning. What I mean is partnering with AI as a companion to do the sprint planning, right? For example, this morning we were given a brief on the feedback, right? Well, maybe there's an opportunity to take some of that feedback and leverage AI and see if there's any patterns that you missed. Because let me tell you, with the way these models are trained, there is no way that we could take in as many data points and data considerations on how these models are trained, because really it's trained on the whole World Wide Web, right? And tons and tons of, there's so much data involved, right? So, and then if you feed it your context, maybe you'll find a blind spot that you weren't aware of, right? And sometimes that could actually end up saving you a lot of time than having, and I'll show you an actual use case on how that can happen. So obviously you guys have probably seen Zoom with the meeting minutes. You've seen Spinach, which is another note-taking app, Otter, right? So you invite these Otter bots. Yes, they can get annoying, I understand, right? I mean, who wants an Otter bot in a meeting and not being able to actually speak back, right? But that's changing too. These Otter bots are getting smarter because they're now taking context. They're becoming agents, so they can actually provide you a response if you ask a question to an agent. Right, so the things are moving pretty fast, but that's another use case for a Scrum Master. Another one is predictive analytics. I can't stress this one enough, right? Because before, I used to actually play a Scrum Master role, and I used to look at tons and tons of data for a lot of teams. And when I used to do my retrospectives, and I'm a data person, so I always loved to look at data coming from different sources. But when I did all of the predictive analytics, it was kind of manual, right? I mean, yes, I was building Python scripts to do it, but today, you can, even if you're a non-technical person, you can actually prompt AI to build you that Python script for, let's say, a Monte Carlo simulation using your data, and within seconds, you'll have a script that you can run locally, so you don't even have to worry about, sharing your information. You can build the entire script using mock data, and there you go. That was a very low-level, low-hanging fruit opportunity that you can actually use. That's really powerful, right? So sometimes you just have to take a step back. There is some concern about, I don't want to share my data with a large language model. I don't want to use it, but use it for building other tools that you can leverage, right? Who said you can't do that? And let me tell you, the coding space and the AI space is getting even crazier, but you can build pretty much anything you want in a demo version. Obviously, production it takes a little bit more time. But when you're doing it in the development stage, you can build prototypes, by the minute. For the product owner, you can have AI-assisted product backlog prioritization, right? You don't have to agree with it, but let me tell you, AI can give you almost like 50 to 60 or hundreds of options, right? To give you, hey, maybe you should think of it this way. So think about ways that you can actually contribute. One thing I will say, kind of discussing all of this, when it comes to skill sets, this is the first time in history that, we as Agilists, and I'll speak for myself, we actually struggle in delegating tasks, right? And that is going to be a very important skill set when it comes to the agentic era. Because you, as human, will need to be able to delegate tasks to a bunch of agents. You could have 50 agents working on one thing. But if you don't know how to delegate what tasks need to go to what agent, then you will have actually fall into that space. So it's the first time I'm seeing a shift in terms of skill set adoption and what's important, right? It's not prompting. It's about what work are you going to delegate, especially that repetitive and that busy work, all the work that you don't like to do. Like, how many of you guys actually enjoy putting things into Jira? Raise of hands. Oh, I see some people actually enjoy it. Please, I would love to have a chat afterwards. I want to see what's enjoyable about putting things into Jira. But, I mean, hey, if that's fun, then, I encourage you to explore how you could leverage AI to do that even better, right? So, what do you think is the biggest challenge in combining AI with agile practices in your area? I'd love to hear from folks if you can scan the QR code and provide your input. Let's see. So, not sure where to start. Efficiency, mindset or cultural shift, skill set, business approval to share private information, finding a right AI tool, lack of awareness and restrictions, enterprise compliance policies, organizational limit, company approval, human interactions and empathy, approval to use. All right, I actually want to touch on some of these, right? Approval to use. How many of you actually have a cell phone device? Pretty much everyone? Let me tell you, how many people actually are on social media? Then you don't need approval, you're already using it. So my point there is, there's a lot of under the hood AI usage happening, right? Even if your companies are not allowing to use it, trust me, I'm sure Vijay probably used ChatGPT before he presented those results, right? I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is, there's a lot of things happening in the enterprise space where I talk to C-suite all the time, and we actually have data when we do surveys to say that the usage of shadow AI is what we call it, is actually on the rise, right? So it is important, and I have a talk later today about AI ethics and what that means in your organization and how you can actually deploy a framework before testing and piloting these tools, right? Because there's tons and tons of AI tools out there. I get it. The question is, where do I start? What do I do? But before you start, especially if you're working for an enterprise company or even the government, it's important to understand AI policies, the ethics, and building that guardrail before you test and deploy. So I'm not going to push, but I just wanted to say, we're already using AI in everything that we do, right? Whether that's outside or inside, the leverage of AI is everywhere. So, live demo time, and I'm actually going to need a volunteer, so whoever puts their hand up, I wanted to give you an actual agile use case, and I'm going to actually do a live demo using some tools to show you how you can do it. So any takers? All right, I see her hand up first, come on by. So what's the actual, do you have a mic to give to? If not, you can just tell me what the agile use case is.
You just want a use case?
Yes, just a use case.
So we have a mid-sprint interruption or a reprioritization from the product owner of the backlog.
Reprioritization of the okay.
Mid-sprint.
Mid-sprint, all right.
Jeopardizes the sprint commitments.
Okay, so we're gonna mock this, okay? We're gonna mock this idea. So the use case I got is, at the middle of this sprint, we have this reprioritization. So I'm going to create mock backlogs, right? I'm going to just ask AI to do all of this. But I'm going to actually use a tool called Claude. And I want to show you how easy this is. All right. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Claude. And I'm going to actually make this bigger so you can see. I know we had some feedback there. So can you guys see that on the screens? A little bit too zoomed out? Okay. All right. So this is Claude. This is actually a competitor to ChatGPT, OpenAI. This is actually a model from Anthropic. It's trained differently, but what we're going to do is we're going to ask Claude to create some mock data for us. And what vertical or area is?
We could do retail, anything.
Okay.
Building you meant that, right?
Yeah, can you guys?
Building a checkout.
So I'm going to ask it to create some mock data. So we'll get a backlog, right? So let's take that. Just simple prompt. So create a backlog with some user stories for e-commerce checkout, and I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see. Actually, I can't full screen for some. Let's see. Once it finishes, we'll prompt it again. Total story point 73. All right. Okay, for some reason I can't make this full screen, so bear with me. So now we have a mock product backlog. It might not be perfect, right? If you see something that's missing, you just have to prompt again, right? So you have an e-commerce checkout product backlog. The Epic is streamlined checkout experience to create even gave us the goals. The other thing is when you prompt and you see a lot of things happening, just be specific, right? Just like humans. All right, so now we have this product backlog. Now let's say create another backlog. You said changes during mid-sprint, right? So actually, let's create a mock experience where a new backlog is created mid-sprint. Can you create a interactive experience to simulate what happens? All right, so it's going to create an interactive simulation of handling a new backlog item. And what it's doing, this is Claude Artifact. It's actually scripting in TypeScript, very simple language, but it'll create like a prototype interactive experience. So I'm going to actually zoom out so you can see this a little bit. All right, so it's creating this simulation, right? So we created an existing backlog, and now hopefully it's done. Still coding. Hopefully I don't run the context limit here, but there you go. So now I have this simulation, right? So this is mid-sprint change simulation, current sprint status day 5 of 10. Right? Your team is midway through the sprint with the following items. All right, viewing cart, and then I can hit next. Urgent request received. Right? So I'm simulating these things as they come. Right? But how many of you guys could actually find this powerful on using your data? Raise of hands. Right? To do these simulations. How many of you guys were aware before coming here that you could actually do this? All right, a few folks. Fantastic. Right? But I encourage you to use, this is just a simple use case. You can take this one step further, right? There's always room for improvement. But let's go ahead and go through this team discussion, right? Mid-sprint, it gives us even simulation of what people said and options to consider. So I'm just going to pick one, defer to the next sprint, and create a mitigation plan. All right, so that was the impact analysis. All right, let's see. That's the end of the simulation. How'd you find that? Useful?
Yeah, useful. It also gives the impact analysis.
Yeah.
How good it can get, right?
All right, fantastic. Well, give a round of applause for our volunteer. So this is one use case, but there are many. and this is Claude. Another tool I will show you really quickly is, how many of you guys have heard of Perplexity? So Perplexity is a tool that allows us, it's a tool that allows us to use a lot of these foundational models, but it optimizes search patterns. And Arvind Srinivas, who I've talked to and I've met and I've heard him speak at many events, he's really on the verge of providing us a tool that actually brings us the sources, right? So you can use Perplexity and you can ask Perplexity, hey, can you find some sources, or can you find some information on, let's say, on Hyderabad and places to visit. So what this does is actually is a search algorithm that's really refined to kind of provide you the sources of where it pulls from. Right? So let me actually make this a little bit bigger so you can see. Right? So you have all of the religious sites, the modern attractions, the natural spaces, but you can, at the end of each response, you have this number associated with it. It's like citing your references, right? And you can hit the references and it'll tell you where it pulled that information from, right? So that could be something powerful, especially the folks that are saying, where did you find this information, or where is this data coming from, right? It's really important to make sure that we're tagging this in the right way. So another use case that I will provide is, and actually I will wait so I can explain you the agents and what that means. But before I do that, I'm going to go back to my presentation and talk to about what this modern AI tech stack looks like today. Right? So at the foundational concept of it is hardware, right? That's why NVIDIA is now a multi-trillion-dollar company, because they're providing the chips, right? All of these chip companies are actually focusing on building more hardware and more compute. Then on top of that, you have all of the cloud and edge computing platforms, which is all of the Microsoft, Google cloud providers, GCP, whatnot. And every single cloud provider has their own model. And if you take any training classes to them, they will be agnostic to the company. So they're trying to sell you their model. So let me, just to raise awareness, right? Find things that are neutral, right? So you don't get stuck in an ecosystem where you're only getting training from NVIDIA, where you're only getting training from Google, where you're only getting training from Microsoft, right? There are free resources out there everywhere. But in your AI journey, learn from everyone, right? Don't just learn from one provider. So then you have the foundational models. There's tons of foundational models that are out there. It's not just OpenAI's model. There's, I can name like Cohere, there's Claude, there's Llama models for open source. Open source models, there's tons, right? You go to huggingface.co, you'll see all of the different open source models that are available. On top of those foundational models, you have AI frameworks. This is where data scientists sit, right? I love this space because I love to actually play with TensorFlow, PyTorch. This is actually that deep learning tools that you need to really actually be able to train and fine-tune a model. So that's where the AI frameworks and libraries sit. On top of that, you have your development platforms. I will actually show you cursor if we have time. And then you have AI services that sits on top of that, and then obviously the AI applications like ChatGPT, Claude, that sit at the very top. Right? So just be aware that this is the stack, and guess what? It's changing every day. Right? That's how fast it is. It's changing every day. So with that, to give you how fast it's changing, this is a picture from 2023. You can't even see what's happening. This is that tech stack broken down into all the tools that are available for you to build. Right? That's why I say it's the era to build. So go out there and build. Whether you're technical, non-technical, just go and build. Right? So if you see, this was 2023 in our space. Guess what? This is 2024. And I can't imagine what it will be in 2025. I just can't. I don't even think I can see it on the slide. Like, I can't see this on the slide. Can you guys see it? I'm standing here and I can't see it. So in 2025, it'll just be like a little pixel on the screen. So this is how rapidly the entire AI space is changing. And I'm not saying to go out and learn every single tool that's out there to build, but be familiar about the bigger areas, right, on what's happening. So if you raise awareness, you will know how to even communicate with folks in the future in understanding, right? So talking about agents, I had someone asked me yesterday forgot who it was, but about applying to jobs, like how can I, how can I apply to jobs faster and whatnot. And I actually found this interesting because I had this in my PowerPoint 2 weeks ago. LinkedIn launched their agent, recruiting agent, right? It's an AI agent that basically you can ask, if I'm hiring for someone, I can ask an agent, hey, what are my prospects? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I can have 1,000 applications and I can go to just 12 by just asking an agent. So how do you pass that filter? If LinkedIn and recruiting platforms with tons and tons of data can build AI agents, so can you, right? Build your agent to talk to that agent, right? So if LinkedIn can do it, so can you. And actually, you can build your own job applying agent, right? I have a use case, if you want to see me afterwards, there's something called Crew AI, right? That is actually a framework for you to build this job applying agent, where you can have an agent search for jobs, you can have a job review your resume, agent to review your resume, you can have another agent put all of that information together, right? And then maybe you have the agent to apply and say, hey, LinkedIn agent, I'm here, right? But in the world that's changing so fast, so do our ways of applying, and so do our ways of working. They have to change as well. So I just thought that was a good point. So what is an agent? You know, what does an agent consist of? An AI agent is basically something that can perform tasks autonomously. Right now, you interact with a chatbot. I'm a user. I type in a query. I get a response. But an agent, you delegate a task. And then the agent actually does what you're doing right now. And then you get all of the options of what to choose from, right? So the agent is hooked up with input, goals, knowledge, right? And those basically come in terms of you can add memory to these agents. You can add goals, provided what specific goals. You can provide it tasks. You can also provide it the tool sets, right? So again, you're building almost, I like to call it, it's almost like a microservice, right? But you're building a new microservice for yourself or whatever the use case may be. So here's what I was talking about, Crew AI. I built my own little crew. I had a product owner agent, I had a Scrum Master agent, and you can't see it on the slides, but the product owner agent creates and prioritizes a comprehensive product backlog. A Scrum Master facilitates that discussion between the agents, right? And then the developer develops features for the product backlog, right? So, I had the developer task take the first priority from the product owner and start building that out. So you can provide it rules and tasks and whatnot. And this is that summary. So this is what it looks like. This is the interaction flow. And this is going to be a very important skill set of how you actually bring these agentic workflows together, right? So again, it's really important to build this skill set. And I actually just, so I know who founded Crew, like Joe Moria is the name if you guys are interested. But he was saying that even Apple today, as a big company as Apple, they're looking for skill sets, people who know Crew AI. And Crew AI just was founded last year, right? So that's how fast these skill sets are getting valuable, right? Before it used to take some time for these skill sets to become valuable. Now all of a sudden, Crew AI is on job applications, right? As an important skill set to have. So AI and Agile working together, how do I see it? Obviously, the human stays in the loop. And what happens is you have your AI teams that you actually work with on a day-to-day basis, whether that comes in the form of using a chatbot, whether that comes in the form of using AI agents, right? Basically that AI team, you can build a crew and then be able to use it across for any use case that you might have. So how do I see the future? The future started with the all-human team. Then we went with the human and AI co-pilots. Now we're talking about the human and AI agents, right? And then I have this special spot for VR too. So I think we're starting to see people play with glasses, the Apple Vision Pro. That's going to bring some revolution in its own way as well, but powered with AI, right? As we go, we're going to see new things that we're not comfortable with, but we have to step out of our comfort zone. And then perhaps the humanoid bots, who knows when they're going to come. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, no one knows where the future is going, right? It is up to you path your own journey as we're going through this. So, what if we had, is there audio on this? All right. So, to conclude, what if AI can be your companion? You can interact with it. Maybe in the future you will be able to really interact with that way. Maybe the scaling laws in the neural networks will become even more powerful. Systems 2 thinking will increase, right? And perhaps we might actually have humanoid bots delivering packages at our footsteps. And maybe we can actually build these humanoid bots to actually teach us as we teach them, ladies and gentlemen. It is important for us to keep pushing, keep building, keep learning. And maybe even car companies will be able to build these production vehicles by building prototypes that look like this. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is now. Thanks for listening. AI and Agile, better together. Thank you.
Thank you, Snehal, for that fascinating keynote. Your insights on how Agile and AI meet has enlightened us truly on a Saturday morning. Now I request our co-chairs, Suresh Konduru and Vijay Bandaru, please facilitate our sponsor, Snehal Talati, for his contribution on this session. Thank you so much, Snehal, one more time. It's a pleasure having you as our sponsor for RSDH 2024.